حي على الفلاح.
In Ad, Thamud, the people of Ar-Rass, and many generations between them, for everyone we set a similitude, in each we destroyed utterly. Ibn Kathir mentions in his book Qisas an-Nabi that people of Ar-Rass had a well from where they collected water for their needs and also irrigated their lands from it. Those people had a king over them who was just and kind. When he passed away, they mourned over him greatly and mourned for a long time. After some days, Shaytan approached them in the guise of that king and said, "I did not die, but only disappeared, so that I could watch what you do after me." The people became very happy. He then ordered them to erect a barrier between him and them and said that he will never die. Most of the people believed him and then became a fitnah for them. They then started worshipping him. So Allah sent to them a prophet who informed them that the one speaking to them from behind the barrier was actually a shaytan. He forbade them from worshipping him and ordered them to worship Allah alone, who has no partner. As-Suhaili said that the Prophet used to receive revelations during his sleep and that his name was Hanzala ibn Safwan. However, his people became his enemy and subsequently slew him and threw him in a well. The water of that well then dried up. Thus the people became short of water to irrigate their lands or to drink from. Trees were thus ruined, and there were no fruits either to eat from. Their town started ruining slowly to such an extent that after some time they were destroyed completely with no one remaining alive. Nothing was heard of them after that. Jinns occupied their dwellings and haunted their town. Only the roar of the lion and the call of the hyena was heard. The companions of the Ras, also known as the people of the well, were an ancient community who are mentioned in the Quran. Allah says, "Belie before them the people of Nuh, and the dwellers of Ar-Rass, and the Thamud, and the Ad, and Fir'aun, and the brethren of Lut, and the dwellers of the thicket, and the people of Tubba. Each one belied the messengers, so my threat came true." The verses say explicitly that the dwellers of Ar-Rass were destroyed. Scholars related that the companions of the Ras were a community in the Azerbaijan region. The root meaning of Ras is a well or water pit, but some scholars have stated that Ras was the name of a river or the city itself. It is speculated that modern Ar-Rass river is Ar-Rass. Another less common theory is that companion of the Ras were an Indus Valley civilization, with Ras meaning well or along the water channels or water trenches, means referred to place which has a lot of wells. Today, we know that at Mohenjo-Daro in Pakistan, around 700 wells existed at the peak of their civilization. Similar estimates Harappa city itself having 300 wells. Same about Dholavira in India, where many trenches were created to store water. Some Arabs refer to Indus people as companions of the Ras. Ibn Jarir opines that they are the Ashabul Ukhdud, who are named in Surah Al-Buruj, but the concept of the Quran rejects that opinion because those people came after Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam. Ibn Jarir cited Ibn Abbas radiallahu anh saying that the dwellers of Ar-Rass lived in one of the villages of the Thamud. According to Ibn Asakir, Allah sent to the dwellers of Ar-Rass the Prophet Hanzala bin Safwan alayhi salam, but they belied him and slew him. On that, Ad ibn Aus, ibn Iram, ibn Sam bin Nuh departed from Ar-Rass with their children and settled in Ahqaf. Their descendants dispersed all over Yemen. Meanwhile, the dwellers of Ar-Rass were destroyed. Jabrun bin Sa'ad bin Ad went to Damascus and built a city which he called Jabrun, and this is the Iram, the one with pillars. And pillars are not found in such a large number anywhere as in Damascus. Allah sent Sayyidina Hud to the descendants of Ad in Aqaf, and they denied him and suffered destruction. This evidence is enough that the dwellers of Ar-Rass preceded the people of Ad by a long period of time, but Allah knows best. Ibn Abbas has said that Ar-Rass is a well in Azerbaijan, while Ikrimah has said that the dwellers of Ar-Rass were the people of Yas of Falaj. But I say that these were different people. It is mentioned that one of the nobles of the Tamim tribe approached Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali radiallahu anhu and requested him to relate the facts regarding the people of Ar-Rass, where they lived, in what period, who were their rulers, whom did Allah send as a prophet for guiding these people, how they were destroyed, etc. The inquirer told Ali that though they are not mentioned in the Quran, the people of Ar-Rass were a particular group. They worshipped the pine tree and called it the king of trees. It had been planted by Yafith, the son of Nuh, besides a spring. The spring was known as Rushtab and had formed after the great flood. They were known as people of Ar-Rass because they had buried alive a prophet who came after Sulaiman. The people of Ras inhabited 12 cities on the bank of the river Ras in the eastern hemisphere. The area was known as Ar-Rass, and the people were named after the river Ras. It was the best freshwater river in the world, and the kingdom of Ras was the most prosperous nation of its time. The spring and the tree called Sanobar were situated in the city. The people of Ras had taken some seeds from that tree to other towns and sowed them near streams. Then they took some water from the original spring and mixed it in the spring of each town. It irrigated the saplings that gradually grew into thick trees laden with sour fruits. The people prohibited themselves and their animals from partaking in any of the products of these trees. They also refrained from drinking the water of those springs and claimed that it was the cause of existence of their gods. Thus, it did not befit them to drink this water that would result in the decrease of their gods' lives. They used the water from the river Ras that flowed by their cities for themselves and their animals. Every month, they used to have a celebration. On this day, people of that particular town gathered near the Sanobar tree situated there. They covered the tree with a silk curtain embroidered with pictures. Cows and sheep were sacrificed at the tree and later burnt with firewood. When the smoke and ashes darkened the atmosphere, they would fall down prostrating in front of that tree. They wept and wailed and implored the tree to be pleased with them. The Satan used to sit upon the tree and shake its branches. He would hide in the trunk of the tree and say in the voice of a young boy, "My servants, I am pleased with you. May you be happy and your eyes brighten with joy." Hearing this, the people would arise. They would celebrate the next few days in drinking, playing drums, singing, and making merry. Then they would return home. The Persians have named the months after the cities of Ras, Aban, Azar, etc. Every month was associated with a feast of a particular city. Hence that month was named after that city. When it was the turn of their largest town to celebrate the festival, people from all the other cities came there. They would gather at the great tree near the spring and cover the tree with a large curtain embroidered with icons. The curtain was partitioned to have 12 entrances, one for each city. They would prostrate before the tree from outside the curtain. They sacrificed animals equal to those slaughtered from all the other cities collectively. The accursed Iblis sat on the tree and shook its branches. He would call out to them and speak to them. He would make promises to them greater than the promises made by the Shaytans of the other trees. Then they would rise and drink a lot of wine. For 12 long days, they indulged in merrymaking and enjoyment equal to all the festival of the other towns together. After the celebration, they returned home. When the transgression crossed all limits, Allah sent towards them a prophet from the Israelites to make them recognize Allah, but they refused to obey the prophet. After the prophet had exhausted all efforts to guide them and was convinced that they would not come on the right path, he complained to Allah, "My Lord, these people do nothing but falsify me and refuse to believe in you. Therefore, at the time of their great festival, manifest your power to them by causing the trees that they worship to wither. The curse was effective, and the next day the people saw that their trees have dried and withered. They were astonished and terrified. They were divided among themselves on what they thought had happened to the trees. One group said that the man from Allah had performed sorcery in order to transfer the credit of sustenance bestowed by their gods to his Lord. The second group said that their gods were displeased with him because the Prophet mentioned their defects and criticized them, and the people did not object to this. It was for this reason that their God had concealed its freshness and budding to show his anger against that Prophet so that the people would rise up against him. Having formed such an opinion, the people discussed ways of eliminating the Prophet. After consultations, they agreed that he should be slayed. They constructed huge pipes of lead and fixed them to the spring reaching its bottom. Then they climbed down, and after removing all the water, they dug a well underground. After this, the people caught hold of the Prophet and imprisoned him in that well. Then they closed the mouth of the well with a huge boulder. They climbed up, removed the pipes, and allowed the water to flow over the well into the spring. They said, "Now our God shall be pleased with us, for we have slew the Prophet who maligned us. We have buried him at the base of the greatest cinnabar tree. Maybe now it'll regain its freshness and bloom." The whole day they heard the pleas of the Prophet buried inside. He was praying to his Lord, "O my Lord, you are aware of my confinement and see my sorrow and grief. Have mercy on my helplessness." Ultimately, the oppressed Prophet met his end. Peace of Allah be upon him. Allah revealed to Angel Jibreel, "My creatures have become very sinful and unheeding of my wrath. They feel secure from disaster. They worship something other than me and have slew my messenger. Do they think they shall be able to face my chastisement? Can they escape from my kingdom and dominion? I shall send retribution to all those who disobey me and are not fearful of my punishment. By my might and honor, I shall chastise them in such a way that they would be an example to all mankind." Thus, when the people of Ar-Rass were engrossed in celebrating their festival, a red storm caught them by surprise. They clung to each other. The ground beneath their feet became melting sulfur, and a black cloud overshadowed them. Fire began to rain from this cloud, melting the bodies of men, just like lead melts in fire. Ali radiallahu anh said, "I seek Allah's refuge from this wrath. وَلَا حَوْلَ وَلَا قُوَّةَ إِلَّا بِاللَّهِ الْعَلِيِّ الْعَظِيمِ." And there is no power and strength except that of Allah, the High and the Great. Later, the population increased and progenies proliferated. They began to fall into transgression and idol worship. Allah sent towards them a prophet named Hanzala ibn Safwan alayhi salam. He was the prophet that we mentioned in the introduction. He was put to death mercilessly in public view. They were destroyed as a result of this cruel act. All of them died. Their well became useless, and the palace of their ruler was razed to the ground. Allah said, "And Ad, Thamud, the people of Ar-Rass, and many generations between them, for everyone we set a similitude, and each we destroyed utterly."